Hey, welcome again this week to Anime Talk with Ghost and Vuk and myself. We are going to have a spectacular night. We've actually had some fun before this, kind of getting warmed up, and we hope you guys enjoy it as well. So
Using
I,
up all our topic ammo.
yeah, I am your
I'm
host.
eating corn.
I am your host, Joe. I am a staff writer over at We Remember Love. You can find me at Twitter at Joe Animated. And for tonight, if you have any questions for our guests, be sure to tag at Joe's Anime Talk, and we'll catch them at the end. But I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves tonight. Vuk, go ahead and start.
Yeah, my name is Vakub Kakrix. If you know me on Twitter, at VUS underscore. I started Altair and Vega.wordpress.com with Emily Rand, and I have a couple extra writers on board, and that's about it. We write about whatever comes to us, and sometimes transcribe some of the conversations we have over Skype. And Ghost, take it away.
Hi, I'm Ghostlightning. I've been lurking in the anime blogosphere starting around 2008, and at one point I started a blog called You Remember Love with a friend called Mecha. He had all these great plans for it, but he's such a flake he never really posts. So fuck him. No, James, I love you. But yeah, we like robots. I like robots a lot, almost as much as I like anime. Uh, Quietly true. So yes, you'll find a lot of our topics covering Gundam and Mac, most especially Macross. But we cover a whole lot of variety in our archives over the last 3 years. And right now, Joe has been the most regular writer. He accepted my invitation, and we have all this activity right now. And I'm very thankful, and I'm now in his show. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Ghostlightning, and there's this yeah, we kick ass.
Slowly usurping your position, Ghost. You recognize that, right? Man is slowly taking over everything you've ever built up and loved. Just saying. I don't mean to call you out in the middle of your live airing here, Joe, but the writing's on the wall, man. Ghost, gunning for you.
So, guys, let's open up with a big question to start out. So, this spring season keeps getting lots of rave reviews, lots of great shows to watch, no matter what your appetite is. So, if you guys had to start blogging something from just this spring, and you could blog it the entire season, what would be that one show you would choose? Not including anything that's continued on from previous seasons.
Ah, man.
Slope Brothers.
Yeah. Um, See, I'm still I'm, I'm a couple weeks behind on another show that I'm blogging currently, but as of right now, man, what would I
If
want to?
if you could,
What?
yeah, what could you choose right now? Let's say if you had dump everything aside, you got to pick something from this season. I mean, we're 5 episodes in. You've really gotten a good taste of stuff. What would it really
Yeah.
be?
While
Well,
Book is being slow and figuring out what he's talking about, it means Slope Brothers. You know, Kids on the Slope, Sekamichi, Apollon. I would blog this show and fail because I don't have the emotional or I don't feel I have the vocabulary to discuss this shit. Because I just feel like right now, June is like the sexiest piece of shit in anime. Holy shit! That well, every moment I have loved everything about it, and each episode just gets better and better. I don't know if I will have a lot to say except like you know jizzle over the place.
the other thing about
But
Apollon is that the fact that it's really high quality, and I enjoy it immensely. But there are several other people who are currently blogging it that, within the span of all of what they cover, I feel as though there's nothing left that I can possibly add because they are so good at covering all the bases. Like so far, Mike is really good at. Over at Anime Diet is really good at episodically blogging what's going on, and Aftershock over at Anime Instrumentality, they are currently experimenting with episodically blogging Sakamichi no Apollon as well, or as Ghost likes to playfully call it, Slope Brothers. Guys, don't Google the episode Slope. But and between reading them and also occasionally reading what E Minor has to say at moesucks.com, I I feel almost outclassed in the same way that Ghost mentioned here, that there's not much that I can possibly add to the discussion. Now, there's a lot of great, fantastic, wonderful shows this season, and part of it is because of the fact that it's such a large season. that I have no trouble enjoying everything that I'm watching, but in order to properly blog something, I have to feel as though I am not so much. Not only do I have to enjoy something, but I have to feel kind of like a burning desire to say something about it. And so far, the only thing right now that I feel as though I can kind of add to the general discussion for would be Eureka 7 Owl. There's something
Woo!
about that show that is fantastic. But not only is it fantastic, there's also a couple things a couple interesting things that has to say in relation to Eureka 7 that preceded it. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have watched Eureka 7, the first series, in order to enjoy this one properly, because the continuity right now is also up in the air. But there are particular attitudes and there are particular interactions between the characters when compared to the first one in tandem that have me interested. I don't want to say too much because it'll probably be the topic of a post between Emily and I, a colloquium, if you will. And I don't want to play too
Well,
many of my cards because I got myself a blog to run.
all right.
Anyway,
But the only show that I am blogging, I mean, Joe is taking care of Eureka 7, and I pitch in with my peanut gallery. But the only show I'm really blogging this season is AKB Double 004.
I knew that show would be right up your alley, and yesterday's episode is suitably outrageous, and
I haven't seen it.
Which
I'm going to watch after
wait.
this show.
I cannot wait.
which
to
I'm
see
glad we had
what you have to say.
that fun little poll because it got some people to kind of shoot the breeze in there a bit, kind of poke a little at Ghost about it.
Oh man, there's something about that show. Everybody was waiting for. I know everybody was waiting for kind of like the other shoe to drop and talk about how and waiting for to start some sort of drinking game and some sort of terror bad session associated with the show. But I gotta say, I don't know if it's ironic or not, but a part of me really does kind of love what's happening in that show. It is ridiculous and completely off the wall, but there's something inherently entertaining about all the bedlam and kind of insanity that's going on in the show, especially the second half of this second episode. And I won't say anything more, but it has, let's just say it has a lot of what would probably turn Ghost on.
I
Well,
will.
well, I don't know, man. Robots in the robots in the show probably will turn me off more than on. But the thing is,
Well, that depends
how I
entirely on, because I remember a specific Tiger and Bunny post that you wrote
yeah.
about powered suits versus robots. And I just want to say that this show, for some reason, makes the effort to actually, how do I say, differentiate between them. And
Yeah,
I
but the
think
thing
you'd
is, I
appreciate
also
that.
watched. Yeah, but I also watched Guilty Crown and hated it. Shit, man.
Oh, that's because Guilty Crown is a special kind of.
Yeah, but we're just talking about the mecha aspect. I mean, and not just Guilty Crown. I mean, that's too easy to target. There's this thing called Reno Lagrange, which is just wow, what a steaming file that was.
Hey, you know what? Brenda Lagrange,
Hey,
you
I'm
have to.
speaking in terms of we're talking
That's
in
true.
terms of
Just
robot
for the
content.
robots.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that because I don't actually have enough of a
People can jizz
context
to
for that.
whatever. Yeah, people can jizz to whatever they want. I don't care. I can.
Just
I.
speak to anything.
I'm fine with that. But we're talking about something that will appeal to me. You're appealing to me in terms of the robot. It has terrible robot action. The fights are, the dynamics of the robot is just, like in the wrong place between something like Band Red Gundam and then Evangelion. It just doesn't work.
Look, you're always
So,
above the fluidity of the violence of robots, right?
yeah,
You can't actually take a step back and just kind of like be awed by the splendor of this gigantic hulking beast barely moving forward. I know that's the reason why you looked so down on Big O of all things in the last
no,
sign of the tournament.
come on, I don't really look down. You know, I don't really look down on Big O. But if it's inside mecha and you're trying to, people are voting it over a robot that I particularly like very much, then fuck all of you,
So since we're on the side mecha topic, let's go there real quick.
All right.
Mecha. All right, you guys do it.
So
I'm trying to respond to comments right now, and I was sharing the book earlier. It's kind of giving me a challenge because I'm really a nice guy. I started.
Not to toot my own horn.
I'm really a nice guy. I love everyone. But in terms of side mecha, setting me free, because normally we remember love is a place where mecha fans can just hang out and talk about the shit they love. But side mecha is different. I'm a fan too, right? That should be more as obvious as possible. So I want my robots to win. So if I want them to win and it's my robot instead of your robot and only one can win, I'm not going to be like, let's make the best robot win. We both love that show I love, which love. Fuck that. Your robot sucks. And I want everyone who can read this not vote for your robot.
I think my personal theory is that you just forgot the lyrics to Kumbaya.
Yeah, whatever. Macross all the way.
Oh, Ghost. What am I going to do with you, man? What am I going to do with you?
But again, we're talking, to bring it back to AKB 0048, where the funny space where my theory is, it's like, Shoji Kawamori made Macross, and he's pushing the limits of what's acceptable. He went with Macross Frontier. He went all Modicon, and it's really fan-getting everything by showing all the yaoi shit, everything. He went Kogias of the world, with Macross Frontier. It's like a really smorgasbord in fan service. If you want a sterling example for that, just look at FanCat. Everything. It's in that character. Everything. That is a fan service kitchen sink. Now, but it's still Macross. It's his baby. He can't go too far. So whatever he can't put in Macross, that will just take it over the edge and just really flip people out and not want to watch Macross anymore. He put in two other shows. One is Acquired Evil, yes. And then the other is AKB 0048. So everything he can't put in Macross because it's too out there, he's putting it in these other shows. That's what he's doing.
Whatever that is pretty interesting because that was something that Emily and I were talking about on one of our calls earlier this week. There's something about Shoji Kawamori. There's something specifically he wants to communicate, and it's this really strange way of putting people down. Like in Aquarian Evil, he puts a bunch of horny teenagers together and lets their hormones bounce off of each other, but you can't fall in love. Love is forbidden. And he makes it work. He makes it work, but he kind of goes on the same strange tangent with AKB48 where these idols are here and having fantastic shows and, basically singing to the power of love and rock and roll and whatever, but entertainment is illegal. You can't have show business. It's wonderful, but it's not for you. There's something going on in that weird mind of Kawamori's where he's really interested and entertained by the idea of limiting people in the most strangely creative ways. And it's kind of... Huh?
I don't. I think it's shoehorned contrivance. It's really terrible.
Wait, did you say contrivance?
It's really lazy contrivance. I mean, it's not creative at
all stories are contrived.
Yeah, but I'm qualifying it and calling it lazy. But you know how he gets away with it because he's just sheer fun.
It's true.
That's how he gets away with this shit. I mean, you can't be loved. I put it on the thing, but you can't fall in love. That would be
that would be the worst.
This is the stupidest idea ever, but that's how it works because all these other things are distracting you because you have Andy W. Hall, which is the best name in anime ever.
Yeah, he's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, he's
Oh
fantastic.
man, every single week, Emily and I
Yeah.
are just like, Andy.
You know, forming a posse of digging
Oh,
bros
that guy.
and loving his cannons and now trying to rescue his cannons. And in the previous episode, what the fuck happened? He stripped this girl who turned out to be a guy, you know, flat as a board, and it's Nyx? I don't know.
Oh! Spoilers for anybody who's watching who hasn't seen the latest episode.
Yeah,
of,
I was gonna say
Carnival.
I'm a day behind here. Don't ruin it for me.
Spoilers.
Anyone who's not watching, this is the greatest show.
No, seriously. Aquarian Evil.
All right.
Anybody who's not watching this, please watching it. Hello, Marina. We see you're testing.
All right. Anyway, I apologize. So, but that's the thing. I don't really think of those constraints that people describe as particularly creative or great. But they're not heritable because of the spirit.
Yeah.
The spirit is all presented because it's really fun.
It's. I mean, I don't even go so far as to say that it's brave because I'm pretty sure other people have done it. But he has, how do I say, the fortitude to kind of see the ridiculous premise all the way. Like he just amps it up to 11 and says, you know what, fuck it, let's go with it. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that with all fiber of my being.
Yeah.
And it makes for top-notch entertainment week in, week out.
Yeah, the difference
Which is a far cry from, like, apparently, you know, ridiculous, crazy Kawamori from, like, half a decade ago with, like, Arjuna and, like, that crazy stuff there. Yeah, no, this is, like, completely different. For anybody who hasn't seen...
Zero.
Yeah, for anybody who hasn't seen this Arjuna, it's basically Kawamori, who's responsible for Macross and all that, just going completely ridiculous, like, environmentalist, and in the most, like, insulting way possible. It's unbelievable. And I'm surprised the man didn't completely ruin his career and, like, his name doing that. But, you know, if you ask me, he's managed to come back, and rather handily. But that's the extent of what I know about Kawamori.
Well, what I was going to say, and I agree with what you said. The thing about applying Revolve, you know, amp it up to 11, runs with it, but the key thing is it's fun. It's not trying to be clever. Its cleverness is, you know, it's kind of dumb actually, and it's fun.
I mean, I find it clever.
No, and the contrast I have, if you're just trying to be clever and cleverness plus taking all 11, but not fun, what you get is Misa Monogatari.
What we get is what? I'm sorry, what?
Misa Monogatari.
Oh. That is, I would say that is the apogee of cleverness. It is clever for cleverness' sake.
Yeah.
And I do kind of agree with you when if something kind of is couched in its own cleverness and kind of, like, revels in its own intelligence, sometimes it'll forget to be entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And while the Toothbrush episode I found fairly entertaining in a strange, you know, way, I saw the writing on the wall and I was like, yeah, you know, I get the feeling that we're not going to get another, like, episode 12 of Bakemonogatari. You know, we're not going to get another Date Under the Stars, which was, you know, the untold story of, yeah.
Yeah, what we get is the worst fucking haircut ever.
I'm not one to comment on a girl's haircut one way or the other. I grew up in a house with 3 sisters, and I've always learned to mouth shut when stuff like that comes up. So I'm not qualified to speak on a woman's haircut.
All right,
Okay.
guys. So kind of moving
Some
on.
people like it.
We'll stick with the ghost theme for tonight. So we're finally into the 3rd age of Gundam, and probably the last age based on the episode count and things like that. So okay, sorry. Question first is, we're in the 3rd age. We've gone through this. Where do you guys see? I guess, what do you guys think of this? Where do you see it going? How do you think it's going to end?
First off, love it.
Yeah, go with it. I'm gonna run my mouth after you.
First off, I love it to bits. I'm new to Gundam. I've only seen a little bit of Unicorn and not much of anything one way or the other. Oh, before I go off on my thoughts, I hear rumors that it was being cut short. Somebody please dispel that for me. It is going all 50, right?
Nah, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because for some reason people were throwing out the number 37, and I was like, that's bullshit, and you're full of shit, and oh god, I hope that's not
Well, well, the first thing is like one, the original Mobile Suit Gundam TV series was canceled.
yeah,
Number two,
that's what makes me nervous.
number two, Gundam X was also canceled. So there are two precedents. So you have one for the original series and the other one for something alternate universe like this one. Afterward, Gundam X was canceled. Well, it has fans. I think it sucks. So it had it coming.
Oh,
But
Gundam X, or the original series.
the Gundam X.
Okay.
The original series was unfortunate, but it was syndicated, and once it was syndicated, people just loved it. It is hard to watch. If you try watching it now, it is hard to watch.
I
Quality.
believe you. I believe you.
Yeah, because really what happened there is just Yasuhiko, the key animator, he practically almost died in the middle of the production of the show.
I don't mean to laugh because it is really dark and macabre.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Gundam
You
almost
should,
killed him.
yeah, you should read Gundam Sosei, the manga, which is completely true and accurate and factual. It is the manga that describes how Gundam was made, featuring the real characters. It is completely factual biography. Genesis of Gundam. Read it. It's on Manga Files.
I will have to check that out.
Yeah,
But
there's
before
nothing there. Nothing there is untrue. Going on, but then.
Yeah, before we get too crazy into like Gundam lore, because I don't really actually know anything about Gundam. Gundam Age, man, wonderful. Now a lot of people kind of, from what I understand, a lot of people before the airing of Gundam Age kind of wrote it off because it skewed younger. The character designs were very quote-unquote kiddie, and a lot of the older, harder core fan base kind of gave it the brush off because they didn't expect it to have any sort of narrative weight. I saw the first episode with Emily. The both of us, we liked it. It was all right. There's, it seemed to do what it had to do, but we weren't terribly compelled to continue forward, and that was a mistake. It aired week after week after week until finally, at some point, our good friend Shane, who's Black Hole Heart on Twitter, wrote about different perspectives and perceptions of fatherhood, comparing Gundam Age and Gundam Unicorn. And the way he described very succinctly what Gundam Age had to say about the notion and the idea of fatherhood in the second age just floored us. It completely, we didn't expect that kind of cynicism in a show that was supposedly for kids. And at that point, I decided to go back, and Age had already been airing for like 25 weeks at that point. And somebody's. I hear some. I hear some feedback there. I think you're going a little crazy on us, Ghost. Well,
What?
no, I heard some like movement and rumbling back there, but it's gone now. Anyway, so I go back to I downloaded the second episode of Gundam Age, and I watch it, and I'm just floored at the drama and the action and the music. And I watched episode 3. I forced Emily to watch this with me, and next thing we know, we caught up 25 some odd episodes in less than a week. We were transfixed by this show. Not to say that there wasn't a rough patch, because there's a little rough patch from around episode 5 to like 8, and where the characters basically go onto a colony of some sort and basically kind of mediate a civil dispute. And that was a bore. And we even went back and read all of your old posts on Age, like during those first arcs, and even you were talking about how this just was killing you, and how you were disappointed, and how these fake Zaku's were like lumbering along, like shooting bullets at each other that weren't having any effect whatsoever, and I was just like, oh, preach it. God, this is so tedious. What the fuck am I watching? Luckily, the moment they left that planet, hell, even before they left that particular area that they were at, it just amped it back up to 11, and it never looked back. Every single week has been a treat. Every single week has been like kind of a bonanza, a cornucopia of different animators, basically having their exercising their chops at robots destroying the crap out of each other, and just fantastic soap opera. It's very soapy, and it's really good stuff, and it's really compelling. And that's Gundam Age. I forced 2D Kaleidoscope and CG Switch to watch the first 3 episodes with me, and I made converts of that. Yeah.
Good job. But you know what? To answer the question, what do I think about the Third Age? I think it's pretty cool. A lot of Gundam Age is supposedly referencing a manga called Crossbone Gundam, and the OP pretty much confirmed it. Because the Vegans, they're like the Jupiter people in Crossbone. Crossbone is supposed to be in use in part of the Universal Century, way after the whole Char, the Xeon Federation stuff. But it happened before Big Green Gundam. So what happened? F91 and then Crossbone Gundam. Basically, it's popular because it is basically space pirate Gundam. Yeah, and you see in the OP in the latest one, there's a pirate Gundam.
I do see a pirate.
Yeah,
I see crossbones.
Yeah, it's popular basically because of that, but it's a manga. I did it and it is quite kiddie. And I didn't enjoy reading it all. I probably read 1 volume and dropped it. But it does have its fan base, and an animated version of Gundam manga is always something I would go for. I'm a fan of anime robots. Manga robots, not so much. But so that's where, yeah, because it's not moving. They're just standing there. Yeah, action, light, and explosions. But
manga has its own strengths, but action.
Definitely.
It's gotta play its cards right, and if it's not compelling enough, plus we're all dirty pirates anyway, so we're reading it on the computer, and it's really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable reading that stuff on a computer monitor. I think a tablet. Oh God, I need a tablet so I can read all this manga.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy myself one. But again, so that's where it's coming from, and there's gonna be some influence of Mobile Suit Victory Gundam, because Kyo is the age of the youngest Gundam protagonist. Uso Even. He's the youngest, he kicks a lot of ass, he's also a new type. He just owns. But Victory, however, the anime is notable for being a particular real, it was a different kind of train wreck. Victory is basically, I don't want to do any more Gundam. I really hate it. I've been doing this a decade. I am so done. I am so done. But
get me to Bison Well.
Get me to Bison Well. But basically, he get me back to Bison Well because he did Dunbar in the 80s.
Sorry guys, inside jokes.
So yeah. So he was dragged back, and he basically, fine, you want to make a Gundam? Me make a Gundam? Fuck you, I'll make a Gundam. He's really depressed. He hates people. He hates women. He hates the world.
Jesus.
He kills everyone. It's just terrible. I mean, it will be notable also for a character named Katejina Luz. No one is as fucked up, batshit insane as this character. And
how do you spell that?
Katejina, you spell it as it sounds, with a J, and the last name is L-O-O-S.
L-O-O-S.
Yes.
All right.
Now, Katejina, and people have warned me, spoiled it, this is the batshit character. And I don't see it coming because it's like, what, we're episode 45. I don't see anything. It's just she's playing for the bad guys. Nothing's particularly off about this. And then, episode 48, 49, holy shit. Nothing prepared me for that, and nothing will prepare you. So anyway, That's the context. So there'll be there's an occupation, and pretty much the armies are beleaguered, and it's up to mostly an independent fighting group on their own with their ship.
And this
Fighting.
is Victory you're talking about, right?
Yeah, Victory.
And you're
so
talking
it'll
about
be
how Gundam Age is basically related to Victory through this.
So yeah, so it's a mix
Okay.
of three things. Age 3 is a mix of three things: Crossbone, Victory, and Double Zeta. So you get some of the worst in Gundam, and it's going to make lemonade. That's the plan I see for
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Age 3.
We're
So,
name dropping all these particular franchises, guys, but at the same time, you don't need to have known anything about these franchises.
No.
like me.
No,
Because like,
but
I'm completely Gundam blind, and fuck do I love this show. Holy hell. This show is
there's-
amazing.
good news. But the thing about Gundam, and I've mentioned this in my books every now and then. It's a legendary franchise. It's part of the cultural heritage of Japan. That's outside of Ghibli.
Blah, blah,
It's,
blah, blah.
It's the only thing, probably the only other thing. But the thing is, Gundam
It's part
is,
of the American consciousness, too. I mean, when Americans think of anime, they think of giant robots.
Yeah, they think of Gundam Wing, which is unfortunate. So, the thing is, Gundam as a franchise is not necessarily this long tradition of goodness. Most of it, and I mean most of it, it's probably really, really bad. Really. And a lot of it is bad, and it won't stand up to rigor and scrutiny.
It's dated, that's what you're saying.
No, it's bad. Formal criticism, yeah, I have no problem. It's just sheer amount of episodes, quality, if you plot it out, bad. However, having said that, the more you watch, the more you enjoy yourself. It is an enriching experience. Even if you watch the worst ones, the next thing you're going to watch, you're going to enjoy it somehow. And
it's supposed to be true of any medium, really.
Maybe, but in anime, nothing like Gundam exists. Because I watch a lot of anime, too. I watch a lot of mechas, too. The dynamics are different. It's a mecha is a franchise. It's not as old and has far less shows. But Gundam, this dynamic that's distinguishing now, is particularly special to Gundam. The more you watch, the more enriching it becomes. Now, as a viewer, and I exemplify it in the post wherein I do this panel, the only way I could come up with those things is because I've seen so many. It all feeds into each other. There's so much meta enjoyment going on within the franchise. It's a source of great enjoyment. The more you watch, the more enriching it gets. So even if you watch the shittiest of shows like Mobile Suit, Gundam Destiny, you are getting value. And I promise you this is true.
I gotta say, that sounds really, really interesting and kind of a bit strange too, because you openly admit that there's a lot of Gundam that's just outright bad. But the more you watch, it kind of reinforces each other. It almost seems as though Gundam as a franchise kind of apologizes for itself in that case, where everything kind of patches together and supports the weaknesses of other franchises, and taken as a whole, it's a good thing, but it's more than the sum of its parts.
Definitely, because the parts suck. See Destiny, terrible. Not to say that they are defenders and are real fans. These are gateway shows. They are gateway shows, and there are people who love them to death, and I acknowledge that. If you ask me, real bad stuff. But that's me. And of course there will be people like me as well. And if you go to Gundam, they have a very measured, sober appreciation of me. I acknowledge that. But if you ask me, it's terrible. It's shit on a stick, man.
So guys, let's get to.
You're not a very good advocate.
Let's get a couple.
Terrible. You're gonna love it.
Let's get a couple questions here, guys, before we finish up for the night. So whether this is for Ghost or for Ghost and Boot, we've got a question from Spiral here. The merits of Ava compared to Gundam.
Different, way different.
I have
Now,
watched Eva, and I've only watched a little bit of Gundam. But Evangelion is not so much about the robots. You're not meant to, from what I understand, you're not meant to take visceral pleasure from the violence of the robots on each other. This is
really? No
I mean,
way!
I did have a little thrill when Unit 1 goes berserk, but the more
Oh,
I watch
just a
it,
little?
okay, yeah, it was pretty fucking awesome, I'll admit it. But the more
There
I
you
watch,
go.
but the thing is, the more you watch of Eva, and the more you kind of like get to know about Shinji and Asuka, every time they go into these into the Evas, like they're being tortured. That shit is not good. You're not meant to. It's supposed to coincide with the lore of Anno basically like having a bit of a like nervous breakdown towards the end of the show. But whatever shit Anno is going through, he's taking out on his characters as well. I mean, the phrase mind rape comes from a specific episode of Eva where Asuka basically is violated by one of the monsters mentally. And at that point, no, I wasn't enjoying the violence in a traditional manner. I was more fascinated by it than anything else.
All right. The thing is, comparison, Gundam and Eva. Anno is, he's a fan of Domino. He looked at Space Runaway Idion, which was really ahead of its time.
Which is something Tosan will probably talk about.
Right, and then it will, basically end of Evangelion is basically end of Idion. That's it all is. And all these child soldiers manufactured for warfare. It's a Gundam thing. It started with Zeta Gundam did it. Of course, there are super robots and these proceedings as well.
Right.
But in terms of like the gritty real stuff, you have characters in Zeta Gundam. Basically formers on a starting point. That's your proto Asuka. Even Lala Sune in 0079 Gundam, the first Gundam, that is your proto Asuka and Rei right there. So, right, yes, absolutely. So, there's the tradition. So, Evangelion really is a take, not just on Gundam, but on robot anime as a whole. As such, it's an excellent review, it's an excellent homage, and you can call it's a deconstruction of the whole thing.
Be careful with that word. People will jump on you just for using it, even if you do know what you're talking about.
Come at me, bros.
Geotag.
Geotag it, yep.
Yeah, and then, if you ask me, if you look at my top 30 list, Evangelion is way up there, higher than any of the Gundams. And I saw Evangelion before I saw it. I turned into a Gundam fan in 2009. I'm not, and I started off hating it. It took a lot.
You start off with Gundam Below.
Well, no, I actually liked Gundam Below was the first Gundam I liked. I started watching the UC stuff. It was forced down my throat. What's so special about this? I didn't get it. I watched at least 9 shows and dropped it before, I got it. It finally clicked what made it special. And then I went back and watched everything, and I loved it. So, but, going back to the comparison, Evangelion conceptually does far more than Gundam does. Far more. Except when it comes to Gundam's core theme, which Evangelion doesn't touch. The Gundam's core theme is war as hell.
Why do you adults have to do this?
Those are the cheesy, hokey parts that we also love, but it's not particularly good. And you get a lot out of that, especially in Zeta Gundam.
Well. There's a bit of that in Evangelion as well to go along with what you're saying.
But that's also, it's a big thing. I don't think it's unique to the robot anime, but it definitely is part of that. Macross doesn't deal with that at all, but Evangelion definitely does. There's clear line between what the adults do and what the children do, and the children are actually called children, And then
And
in
the
Gundam,
exploitation of one by the other.
yeah, and then in Gundam, basically you have
Folks,
many,
why do we have to fight each other?
yeah, many lead characters keep, complaining to adults, and you can see it in Unicorn, you can see it in Vega. Uh, why do we fight? What is this? What adults do? Everyone's fighting. Oh my God!
Is this what it means to be an adult?
An adult.
Even I'm a Gundam newbie, neophyte, and even I know that.
Yeah. So those are four things, but ultimately it's War is Hell. And as an essay on War is Hell, Gundam fails a lot more than it succeeds, and it's probably the one of the last posts I really put in the work is how in Gundam it's still the first show that only truly succeeds in this. Everything else falls short to what 0079 was able to accomplish in the theme of War is Hell. I'll reserve that for the post that's come, but it's something that we have talked about. Mecha Edition I, the guy who really got me into Gundam. We've been talking about it for many years, and we're gonna put it out. We're gonna put out that show. That 0079 is still the only true success in communicating War is Hell. Maybe Unicorn will supplement it, but it's really 0079.
So
Very,
So one last
Yeah.
question from our viewers here is: so at the end of Age 2, beginning of Age 3, we lose Asemu in Gundam Age. He disappears. All they find is the Age device, the cell phone. So speculating, thinking about it, what do you guys think happened to him? He went after, what was it? A derelict ship, I believe.
yes.
Yes, a derelict ship.
Pirate! He is a pirate now!
Yeah, he could be. He could be. But the thing is, we're almost sure. I'm almost always wrong in predicting things about Gundam Age. So take it, what I'm going to say, for what it is. But what's going to happen in the end, that I'm almost sure of, it's going to be Son Goku, Son Gohan, and Goten banding together in one super attack using 3 Gundams. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
That's what's going to happen. He's going to come back, all Asemu's family attack.
Now, there's some conversation that Emily and I were having. There's one thing about Age, is that Age loves to play with death tropes and death flags and likes to throw you for a loop. I don't want to be too spoilery, but there are a couple times where it's just blaring in your face several times in the second Age that this person is going to die. And what does it do? It kills someone else. Gundam Age, at the end of the second Age and the beginning of the third Age, the entire time Emily and I throughout the second Age, we just kept saying to ourselves, Asemu's gonna die. This guy, he's much more, he's not, how do I say, there are certain flags and there are certain triggers that just made it seem as though things were going a little too right for him despite his circumstance, despite the fact that he doesn't operate on the same level as his father, doesn't operate on the same level as Zahar, but things were still going his way, and he was still more mentally kind of with it, and more self-actualized as a person than his father was. Despite how excellent and awesome Flit is, man is still deeply troubled and very, very deeply scarred by what happened to him as a child. So the entire time, Emily and I were thinking, Asemu is going to die, or he's going to be put on a bus somehow, and it's going to be bad. And the beginning of the first Age, just a few minutes in, it's just all these klaxons and all these warning bells were going off, at the top of the register, and something was going to happen with Asemu, and lo and behold, he's gone. He's done for. He's quote unquote killed. Kyo, his son, grows up without him, and as a result, right before we get into the time skip, Asemu goes to his wife, Romary, the mother of his child, and tells him, I'm off for one last mission. And if that isn't a death flag, I don't know what is. But now, based on clues in the opening and theories that Ghostlightning has put forward, we have begun to speculate that either Asemu is missing. They never found the body. He's either A, piloting that Black Gundam and being all sorts of crazy piratey badass, or B, is brainwashed and is working for the Vegans, or C, his last mission that he spoke to Romary about. Well, he still is on that mission, and he could be a mole, a plant inside of the Vegan stronghold. This could be kind of like a long form thing, and could possibly be the part of the reason why Flit wanted to how do I say make up for the fact that he was a great commander but a shitty father to Asemu. And if Flit and Asemu knew about this in advance and knew that Flit was going to disappear for an extended period of time, then Flit probably would have manned up and basically took over the parenting duties from Asemu to make sure that Kyo had a good enough life, a good enough, stable enough life to grow up to be somewhat well-adjusted, despite the fact that he was also grooming him to be like a super soldier from the age of 4. So,
Yeah.
there's something going on there. Like, I think Asemu is going to come back in a big way, and it's going to be ridiculous, and they're going to mine the drama for all it's worth. But man, that after all the tears are shed and after all the words are screamed out at the top of their lungs, that triple-decker, super, ultra, mega attack that'll just wipe out the Vegans is going to be so sweet. It's going to be wonderful, and I cannot wait.
But what happens though is just Zayhart comes in between the mass attack and saves the Vegans in some Messiah, Jesus Christ, which just kills us because the love between them
I don't know.
So strong.
I totally believe that one of the Asnos is gonna bite it. I don't think it's gonna be Kyo because he's just too young and too full of potential. It could be Flit, because all 3 of these ages have basically been the arc of his life, and kind of mirror. Now, don't kill me. They kind of mirror Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, in a bit of a tone with Star Wars, because obviously the first age is Flit as young Anakin Skywalker, very young, hot-headed, but very, very talented. And then age 2 is basically him falling to the dark side and very, very commanding, very efficient, very fascist. Now, age 3 is basically the redemption of, Darth Vader through Luke Skywalker, which is Kyo.
Well, it's both far-fetched and not, because obviously Gundam is heavily, heavily influenced by Star Wars. The beam sabers, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
they're lightsabers.
Come on, they're lightsabers.
New types, X-Rounders, Innovators, they're Jedi. So it's not even worth talking about. Obviously, Gundam is a child of Star Wars. It's just so.
I mean, to make a very overarching comment, you could say a lot of sci-fi since 1970, 78 now? Yeah. Is a derivative of Star Wars in a lot of ways.
I know this is where Emily's gonna jump in and say that it's all derivative of the monomyth, not Star Wars. But hey, it's not like Ghost says, it's not a bad thing because despite its detractors, Star Wars is still an amazingly entertaining piece of mass media. Now, I have a bit of a question, actually, about Gundam Age, specifically the third age. What do you guys think about this dual cockpit, dual pilot role? I had a theory about that. How likely do you think it would be that Wendy, the new love interest, could potentially be a co-pilot?
No, because all the women characters at this point have been passive and almost a detraction from that core piloting.
I will agree for the first age, because Emily, the character, got a pretty raw deal in terms of characterization and in terms of narrative, but it was also, in my opinion, a bit necessary to kind of like establish how cynical and just dark and chauvinistic this entire world is. The second age, with Romery, actually had the female love interest take a bit more of an active role. It was still a distraction and still kind of like a weight on Asamu's heart, but at the very least, it was proactive in joining the military and taking a more active role, even if, there were a couple wrenches being thrown in. I want, and I hope, that they use Alan and Wendy to kind of continue the idea of the female characters kind of progressing in their own right. And I hope that she doesn't necessarily, not only will she have the supportiveness, even if it's passive, the supportiveness of Emily combined with the proactiveness of Romery, and making for a kind of awesome, competent, and equal partner for Kyo. That's just me, aiming for the moon, and I don't know if I can expect that from a children's Gundam show.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Because it's very subtle and very well done in a lot of other things. But I also recognize, even in my neophyte status, that Gundam isn't exactly the most sexually balanced show. There's a lot of chauvinism in that. Holy
oh yeah, man. We don't watch Zeta
Gundam,
Gundam, man.
Zeta Gundam part of it is like a product of its time, being in the 70s and 80s, but, it's 2012. Hopefully they get with the program. You never know.
So guys,
I'm just hoping.
I'm gonna cut you short here and just say if you guys have any final thoughts, just wrap them up. If you want to start, Ghost.
Okay. Look forward to the next arc. I think it's going to be fun. I think not necessarily the pace of the show will dial down, but it will have some slower moments, some funnier moments to really flesh out the fact that it has a ragtag cast, a funky kind of environment. And lastly, I hope Flip continues being this asshole. It makes him interesting because he didn't get to be. He didn't turn into Hitler, which we all predicted he would be, which would be an awesome too. But if he just remained this perfect character that has lived so long, achieved so much more than any Gundam character before him, he'll be just great. But if he turns into this wreck in his old age, it's still good, but creates just as many problems as he solves kind of character, and really pisses a lot of people off. I think it will be, transcendent stuff, and that's what I'm hoping for.
And you know what? To piggyback off of that, I hope so too. I hope that even though Flit was a fantastic character and kind of almost near perfect, except for the whole fascist bit, I hope this does kind of stick a craw in his development a little bit, because this was the first time in the latest episode that there was a soldier that stood up to him, exerted authority over him, and was right. Put Flit in his place and told him, no, you cannot do this on your own. We are a unit. We are a group. We have to work together. And Flit knew he was wrong, and he sulked. And that was wonderful.
Great stuff.
Oh, man. I was just like, Flit the super soldier, Flit the superhuman got told the fuck off, and it was great.
Yeah, get the fuck out of the night, civilian.
Yes! You're either all in or you're all out, but right now, the soldiers are running the show, and that was wonderful. Oh, man.
I want... Right, Flit just, let us eat him up, and then make trouble.
All right.
No, and just really quickly, the other thing about this third age is that this has the potential to have the most charismatic and the most charismatic crew of the three ages, because all of them have that crazy ragtag misfit bunch of
Captain Tyler.
Ragtag misfit a bunch.
Double Zeta Gundam.
And like I know this new captain is basically like they're giving her a bunch of shit. She's too young. She has no experience. But honestly, I hope maybe this is where the progression of the strong female characters is going to go towards. But I hope they turn her into the most badass diva captain that ever existed, man.
Or,
At the end of the
you
show,
know,
she
if
could be
you
the
want to
moon
look for
doggy.
quote-unquote strong female character, you want a heroine in Gundam that's just perfect, flawless. I
I'm not
control, you know, I'm so brave. I run the universe. You know, you go to Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny, and you'll get Lacus Klein.
No.
There you go.
I know your trollish ways. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for development. Man, but like, I
You
think.
know, if you want, you just grow. You know, God, it's been done before. Like, okay, Bright Noah, the first one, was not prepared to be a captain, thrust into the role, did well, but he was a man, right? But if you're looking for a woman, not really a captain, was even basically a mechanic, someone who details guns and prepares them to ship them, but since she was the highest ranking officer in the area when they had to run away with a catapult ship, probably even harder circumstances than Nadra, you're looking at Murray Ramius, Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Episode 2. There you go.
I'll check it out.
And I'm saying, I'm not endorsing it, but if that's what they're looking for, it's been done. And when she, you know, when the Archangel, their ship, gets hit, her boobs jiggle like anything. That's what. That is what she is known for. That is how Gundam deals with, you know.
That
with
is
characters.
hilarious and depressing as hell.
All right, and
Thank you for that.
on that note, we'll end on a high note, guys. But I want to say
see.
I want to say thank you to Ghost and Vuk for coming on tonight. This has been great, guys. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate the time, especially time zones and heck, Ghost is in the future. I mean, it's Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning his time. But
yeah, they gotta get prepared for work now.
So guys, thanks for coming on. And coming up next week, we have Kevo from Desu S Machina, who runs the anime Power Rankings, will be on. We have Spherical Cows, and Quattro Meta or Oto from Shameful Otaku Secret will come on. It should be.
Oh fuck! It should be such a terrible episode. I'd watch it for. It
should be great. I mean, I think we'll have quite a mix there, and should be a lot of fun next Tuesday. So for those of you watching this week, come back. We'll be back at a normal time of 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern next week. But it should be a lot of fun.
Shoot the shit with Oto-san. Oh well.
But like I said, thanks for watching, guys. I post audio and video from these episodes on WordPress at joeanimated.wordpress.com. If you're into some self torture, you can podcast feed this as well. And if you think you have what it takes to come on and talk with us, you can email me at joeanimated@gmail.com and we'll get you on. Next week, same time. Hope to see you there. Thanks, guys.
And
all right,
mahalo.
thanks.
Mahalo.